Right. It's just working slow.
That's okay.
Okay.
We're up.
Looks like we're up. All right.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag
of
of the United States
flag
of
of
America,
the United States of America, and to the
and
republic for which it stands,
One nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. First item up is consent agenda. The recommended action is approve the following items which are included in the consent agenda. 5A, the meeting minutes from our April 21st regular Board of Education meeting. 6A, the teaching staff maternity leave extension. 6B, long-term teaching staff appointment extension. And 7E, the special education. Is everybody okay with those items on the consent agenda?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Joni first, Colleen
Yes.
second. Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
Anyone opposed? Okay, 7-4-0 against, motion passes. For the good of the cause is next up. Karen, did you get any emails?
I did not get any emails.
Okay, good. On to the report, superintendent reports.
All right, well, for my superintendent's report, I'm gonna try and share my screen just so, I don't know, we'll start playing around with some visuals. So let's see. Host disable attendee screen share. Could you allow me to share my screen? If not,
How do I do that?
I don't know. You're supposed to be able to allow me to share my screen.
She has to transfer the host to you.
Can I make him co-host?
Can you make me co-host?
Yes, yes.
All right, that must have changed it.
Does that work?
Yeah, there we go.
Great.
So I'm just going to share my screen for a little while. So I'm going to talk about 3 different things tonight. First one will be the election, the changes to our Board of Education elections. The second thing will be the budget and the situation as it exists right now. And then the last and the best, of course, will involve the schools and some of the good news that's coming from our school situation. So we'll start with the budget. And I think I can make this a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Start with the election, I'm sorry. So on just this past Friday afternoon, we received word about the Board of Education election procedures. The governor released
Your sister, I don't know if it's Jason or your sister.
the governor released the executive order
Meet Cinco.
26, and that officially rescheduled the election to June 9th. And that's for the budget and for school board elections. And this is, it also requires that the election be conducted via absentee ballot and that every eligible voter be sent an absentee ballot with a postage page return envelope. So as you can see, this is a pretty significant executive order that we received on Friday afternoon. The changes are going to be a challenge for us. There's no question about it. And it's going to require some additional costs and some additional time involved in especially the mailing, but many other aspects of this as well. And it's also possible that by changing procedures, the usual patterns of voters and voting could change as well. So this was a very significant executive order. Feel free to read it. There's well summarized by the New York State School Board Association, as well as some of the other educational associations out there. There are also some new deadlines, and I've listed some of them there for you. The Board of Education candidate deadline's May 11th. So for those of you who are running for your seat, make sure you get those notices in by May 11th. Also, the deadline's been extended for the board approving the budget, and that's the last date there is May 21st, and then that puts the onus on the school district to get the word out to the community by May 22nd. What else? May 26th to June 2nd is now the window for a virtual public hearing on the budget. Again, we first learned about this on Friday afternoon, so we don't have all the answers on how we're going to go ahead and carry this out. So we're in the process of planning and organizing for these changes. Dana is very much involved. Karen is a very key player in all of this. So please stay tuned on how we'll be working our way through the requirements for this election.
If I can add.
Yes.
One thing, right?
Yes.
We discussed last time the petitions. That was also mentioned that there is no minimum threshold number of signatures required for your petition.
I already have them all.
Oh, okay.
I took care of it today.
I'll be quiet.
Sorry.
All right, so I'm going to move on to concerns about the budget. And I know that there's an agenda item for the budget for this meeting. And so the board will have a chance to take some action or not at that point. But I want to make sure that you kind of know where we stand, because as you know, every 2 weeks, we're hoping for some additional information and clarity. I wish I could tell you that we have that additional information and better clarity today, but we really don't. We've really received little additional news or information that could help the board make an informed decision about the budget tonight. We were expecting some information after April 30th, and Dana and I were very closely monitoring, what information was coming out of the state. They had said that there would be 3 look back periods, measurement periods, at which point they would make adjustments to the state budget. That date has come and gone, and we don't have any changes that have been proposed. So there's really nothing additional there for us to share with you tonight. As you also know, last meeting we presented a number of options for the tax levy, with the implications of those decisions kind of dependent really on the potential changes in the state budget. And the state budget, as discussed, has talked about anything from existing was what I would consider a sort of a status quo budget, the way it was right before this crisis hit, all the way to the largest number we've seen is 20% cuts to state aid, and then some numbers in between that have been suggested as well. We really don't have any additional information there, so we don't know if the state budget will come in fully funded or whether it will come in as much as 20% reduced. So that's also a wait and see. Interestingly enough, this is sort of a moment in which we really see local fiscal and political decisions intermeshed with state and federal actions or decision making that's going on at every level, right? So at the state level, they're making active decisions on how they're going to deal with this shortfall, right? This dramatic shortfall. We've heard $13 billion shortfall. We've heard $15 billion shortfall, and those have been the estimates that have sort of been existing right now. But this is only May, right? So we know that the state is trying to figure out how they're going to address those. At the federal level, there have been some actions already taken place, and there are some actions that haven't, but have been discussed that could make a significant difference. And again, if all you have to do is watch the national news every day, and you hear all of these, right? So For example, at the federal level, there's been discussion about, stimulus 4.0 or phase 4 of the stimulus, whatever they've been referring to it as. And that is the phase in which there's a strong push, especially from the state governments as well as localities, for the federal government to provide an additional stimulus. And they've used a range of numbers there. $500 billion tends to come out a lot. That could be directed this year to fill the gaps in the state budgets, all of the states' budgets, and additional possibilities there for also cities and other localities. So that's a big question mark. And as you know, this involves national politics and media and all that goes along with that. But even though that seems so distant, that's going to have a direct impact on our budget as well, and every school district's budget in the state. So it's really an interesting time to recognize that the decision you make on the tax levy, as well as the decisions being made in Albany and the decisions made in Washington, are all going to interact to really determine, at least financially, what kind of shape we're in next year, as well as every school district in the state. Just some additional information, because not everybody knows that the CARES Act did provide some support for school districts already, and there's a number of different aspects of the federal law that is being that has an impact on our budgets. One of them was called the Governor's Education Relief Fund. It's abbreviated GEAR, and that provided what we called a pandemic adjustment to school districts, including ours. And for our school district, that translated, and Dana knows the exact number, it's around $105,000 of an adjustment that's already been allocated, and we would expect to see that, at least that's my expectation. There's also a part of the CARES Act called the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. It's abbreviated ESSERF. And this totals a larger number, about $13 billion. Again, this all passed through an earlier version of the stimulus packages. And that $13 billion or so translates into about $1 billion that's being allocated to New York State, but it's yet to be allocated to local districts. So we don't know what that would be. We don't know for sure that we would be receiving that, but that's a possible alteration to our budget as well. But then really it's this discussion, the most significant impact could be this discussion over stimulus 4.0. What some of the numbers I've been paying attention to, there's probably about $360 billion that would do much to fill the gaps of the states. It could be a little higher. At least that's what some of the talk is. So if you pay attention to that in the news over the next 2 weeks and you hear that either is or isn't going to come through at the federal level, you'll know whether or not we're going to have a significant gap here at the school district level, because that is going to potentially at least fill that gap here. So, whether or not any of that happens between now and May 19th, 2 weeks from now, that all remains to be seen. So for now, if the board were to approve our option 1 levy, that's the 4.98% levy change, which is still significantly under our tax cap, we would likely need to make an additional budget adjustment that would range right now, based on all those possibilities, somewhere between 0, in other words, a fully funded budget, all the way to probably, again, guesswork estimates, about $350,000 gap. Now, of course, if the tax levy were different, the gap could be different. If the phase 4 stimulus is different or actually happens, then it's probably lower. So there's all these moving parts, and that's going to contribute to how our budget looks for next year. So I'm telling you what all the possibilities are, but I don't have any answers for you tonight. And I know that when we get to that budget item, that item on the budget, the board will have to decide whether they want to go ahead and approve the tax levy this time around, or again, table it for 2 more weeks. We still do have that 2 weeks because the election postponement has allowed us that time. So that's where we are with the budget. Finally, I would love to share with you some good news because we have plenty of it around here. Just to point out some things on the slide I'm sharing with you. We've had a lot of amateur video producers, including many of our teachers and our administrators, not to mention students, hard at work. The Lake Placid Elementary School faculty and staff, they did an online reading of Green Eggs and Ham that went public last week. It was priceless. I hope you get a chance to see it. The middle school, high school students, it's the second picture, participated in a tribute to teachers for this week's Teacher Appreciation Week. So it's nice to see students saying thank you to their teachers in a very public way. And then the third slide, the third picture on this slide is a picture of Caleb Myhill, who's a sophomore at Lake Placid High School. And this past week, WPTZ did a spotlight on him and his work with the Blue Bomber Weekly News, which has been a regular, stable part of our, of our year, but also of this remote instruction time period. So congratulations to Caleb on being recognized by our regional news show. Many other good things going on. The construction projects at both schools are making rapid progress. Our teachers and our principals have been participating in the food deliveries, and Dana's been setting up the calendar and organizing that. And then our teachers and principals have been among those who have been doing the deliveries. And I know that many of our students and our children, their eyes have lit up when they've seen their principals and their teachers arrive at their door with a bag of food. So there are some very positive, unique experiences coming. Feedback on some of the changes we made after spring break, and some of those have been positive. Many of those have been positive. Part of that is the middle school programs, mentor programs. So they've been establishing formal mentor relationships between teachers and students and there's a regular check-in focused on building positive relationships and attempts to maintain peer group connections throughout this time. Social emotional learning, mental health questions, these are all pressing on us, and we're trying to do everything we can to maintain those connections for kids, connections with adults, connections with each other. And middle school is doing a very nice job with that. In all this remote instruction and at-home learning, it's not 100%. Not every student's always participating when you want them to. So we have been applying an extra effort to make connections with families, often via phone or email, when we notice that students aren't participating. So we are trying very hard to promote as much student engagement with remote instruction as we can. And we're having a lot of success with the one-on-one individual contacts. At Lake Placid High School, we were pleasantly surprised that the bingo board project assignment over spring break was well received. And there were some students who went above and beyond with their projects, including things like doing video blogs of their days, and other kinds of presentations of their materials. So good news there. And really all of our students have been, and our teachers have been settling into new routines over the last 2 weeks in this post-spring break period. And again, we haven't stopped making changes. You need to know that while I'm sharing with you many good items, and there's lots of good news, it isn't perfect. There are gaps, there are holes. And while that is a problem, I want you to know that when we find problems, when we see problems, we're doing the best to address those and fill those gaps, whether that's connection with individual kids or whether that's changes in the structure of our instructional program at one or another school. It's not a firm, fixed and done system. It's being tweaked and changed as we go. As far as the videos that I shared with you earlier, these three are three good ones. There are links to these videos on our Facebook page. I would encourage you or anybody out there watching to go to our Facebook page and find the links, scroll down and find the links to these and other videos that are out there. Hopefully there's more good news that you can find on our public information streams like Facebook. So that's everything. Do you have any questions or any comments for me about anything I brought up or anything else?
I would just like to say, Roger, just a tremendous thank you to all of the people, whoever is involved in driving around every day with the breakfast and lunches and curriculum packets. That's just a lot of work. I know that there's different people that volunteer, but I just think that they deserve a big, round of applause.
Yeah, I agree. And the organizer for all that's also in our conversation right here, and that would be Dana Woods. So Dana will have
Great
a little
job,
applause
Dana.
for you there too.
Woohoo!
Dana, woohoo!
Nice work.
I had a question. How is morale among the faculty and staff?
So it ranges. I would not, again, I don't want to put such a gloss on things that we overlook the fact that this is a very difficult and challenging time. Today I was on with when I say on, I guess we have a lot of Zoom meetings these days. I was on a Zoom meeting with our middle school, high school principals, and we were talking about morale. And so they organize on a regular basis. We continue this at all school levels, faculty meetings or sometimes grade level team meetings as a way for faculty to connect with each other, to share their concerns, to see each other, to share their successes. So, morale is a concern of ours for all of us. And sometimes the information that we get from the state or the concerns that are raised, especially the budgetary concerns right now, those weigh on people. And I know they're weighing on people right now. Friday was a heavy day for people. Friday was a heavy day. I don't think people were shocked that at the state level, the decision was made to maintain the school closures through the end of the school year. So they weren't shocked, but I know I felt a great loss at that moment. We know that we have students and staff, especially in particular, our students who are coming to an end of their school career, our seniors, or even our fifth graders who don't get a chance to finish out the year in their elementary school. And then our retiring staff and faculty. This is a very difficult time for them. And many of us feel it for them. We feel it for ourselves in other ways. We're here for kids. And when you don't see kids every day, when you don't get a chance to say hello and interact, that's difficult. So yeah, Martha, we are doing as much as we can to try and maintain those connections. Faculty do it for themselves too. They have sometimes Friday afternoon gatherings on Zoom, right? After hours gatherings, those kinds of things in order to reconnect. So people are doing their best to take care of themselves and take care of each other.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Information for the board. There's information regarding cancellation of the 2020 Academic Excellence Awards that was scheduled for June 2nd at the Crown Plaza. There's also 2 items regarding the budget, and changes thereof, and the meeting dates, the approved meeting dates, which will be taking up at one of our meetings. We'll have to officially change and vote on it. Is there any other reason for that being in there?
Right, just as information that we need to.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom.
The information on the academic awards banquet, that's something we put on there, but the truth is that we have a number of cancellations.
Oh, sure.
and that's just one of many.
And then there's some content on the fencing information as well. So any questions, comments on any of those items?
Yeah, was that fence going to be gold plated?
Gold or platinum.
Yes.
It's painted over the black.
Mhm.
So that was shocking.
Yeah, definitely shocking.
Nothing. We can go to the agenda items.
I would say students first and foremost, and I'm using the example of the reading by the elementary school teachers of Green Eggs and Ham, because I think for many of these children, when they see their teacher pop up on the screen, it gives them comfort and just the knowledge that they're not home alone and that there's someone still there that cares about them. And I really think that had a big impact on the little children at the elementary school. And I don't know, it's just very meaningful. And I just, from what I've heard from the little ones, it made a big difference to them to see their teachers.
Okay, thank you. Information for the board, there was community outreach involvement, education, and when we get to the donations, that'll be under finance. Anybody else? Jeff, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you. If you can hear me, I'll give them to you now if you'd like. So on the consent agenda, I have number 2, education, obviously. Under the executive order that was released on Friday, part of that I think is just number 3, community outreach. Under the executive content, the fencing, clearly that was a good decision not to go forward with that, if that's what we're doing. Finance, the capital project update, finance. What else? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Fine, because my connection is terrible, but so you guys are kind of coming in and out. And under the additional items, number 7, I have number 6, finance, and 3, community out, and 4, leadership. And I think that, oh no, one more. The change order approval. This is something I'm kind of glad we're doing. It's something we talked about a while ago, which is the dual electric sign, the sign to an electric sign. And I think that really falls under both community outreach and students first and foremost, and maybe some others, but those 2 at least. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
I believe.
Anyone else? I think that pretty much covered everything. Got all that stuff?
That's it.
Okay, moving on to the capital project update. You'll see under the attachments, the contract status stated April 24th. Roger, Dana, anything to add or update us on?
Dana, you want to give a little overview?
I think there was one group of people that were excited to hear school was going to be closed for the rest of the year, and that was the contractors. I didn't think it took them long to find out when the governor mentioned it. It spread pretty quickly among them in terms of pushing forward. So in that regards, things are progressing. From my perspective, we're a little ahead of the game now because of that. I talked to Paul Lemoyne today, and they're looking at what's the possibility of starting some additional things now that it's beneficial. So they'll be working through that as well. But things are progressing fairly nicely in terms of that, in terms of the project.
a mess around here, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably the two pieces of the project that could now move ahead without having to wait for school to be ended are the elementary school office. It's the elementary school office space, which they were going to have to wait till school let out, and now they can start that sooner. And then the track, I believe the track resurfacing, we were going to have to wait until after sectionals because we were the sectional host this year. And now we know that's not going to happen. So the track resurfacing can start sooner.
Anything else? Okay, change orders. There is a change order that's for our information only. It does not meet the dollar amount, so it is information only. And it was regarding asbestos, correct?
Yeah, it's an old one too. It's an old one.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, moving right along. Meeting minutes, consent. The personnel, there's the teaching staff maternity and the long-term appointment, which were both consent. And that leads us right to the additional action items. First item up is a donation acceptance. The recommended action reads, whereas the Lake Placid Central School Board of Education policy number 6255, donations, gifts, and grants, the district allows for the superintendent of schools to accept on behalf of the board gifts and donations having a value of less than $1,500, whereas monies have been received in the amount of $10,000 from the Adirondack Foundation Sun Fund for the purpose of funding the backpack program. Now therefore it be resolved in accordance with policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts the checks from the Adirondack Foundation Sun Funding in the amount of $10,000 for the backpack program. May I have a motion to approve this donation acceptance?
I'll make that
So
motion.
moved.
Popped up first. Second,
Yes,
Colleen, was that you?
yes.
Thank you. Any discussion on this?
Yeah, how many backpacks does that buy us?
I will have to say that the Sun Fund has made some amazing donations around the community for a variety of purposes, and they are to be commended for providing this funding.
And is there a way for us to get a thank you out there other than just, you know, on our board meeting here?
I'll be more than happy to write a thank you on behalf of the board, if that's okay with all the board members.
I think
That's
that would be
okay.
great.
I wrote a
That's
personal,
great.
thank you saying I'm a board member and I learned that you did this and thank you so very much.
Okay.
The more thank yous, the better.
Any more discussion on that topic? If not, may I please have a vote?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes 7-4-0 against. The next is another donation acceptance. The first part of that recommended action is the same. It reads about the policy 6255. So I'll just pick it up. Whereas monies have been received in the amount of $10,000 from the Eline Foundation with the purpose of funding the backpack program. Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts the checks from the Eline Foundation in the amount of $10,000 for the backpack program. May I have a motion to accept this donation?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Joe. Second?
Yes.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion on this donation?
I would like to just
Thank
add,
you.
Sorry. Sorry, I mean, kind of.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add in a thank you to people who are organizing things from the school, in particular for the backpack program. Teresa Lindsay, our middle school principal, and Patty Mayberry, our middle high school main office secretary, have been doing a lot of the legwork, not just for the backpack program, but also involved in these grant requests. And so many thanks to them for putting together the grant requests, and of course to the organizations for providing the grants.
Okay, great. May I have a vote, please? All in favor? Did we vote on this one?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion passes 7-4-0 against. The next motion, sorry, Karen, I got to you too late. Is there a number for the change order?
No, for this, is that the one for Luck Brothers?
Yes.
No, because the, I'm sorry, I asked Dana today and they don't have, we haven't gotten the actual
Okay,
paperwork from Mosaic. Does that make sense?
yes. So we'll just call it a change order without a number. That's okay. C is the change order approval. We discussed this at the April 21st meeting.
I'll just take the blank out.
Recommended action be it resolved, Board of Education of the Lake Placid Central School District hereby approves change order in the amount of $33,354 for Luck Brothers in relation to the Lake Placid Elementary School sign based upon information provided to the Board of Education and placed on file with the district clerk. May I have a motion for this change order?
Yes.
Is that Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hooray. That's a great move. Glad we're doing this.
Second, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. Discussion? I echo Jeff's comment. I think this is a great addition. If not, may I please have a vote? Voting yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? If not, the motion passes 7-4-0 against. Budget. Should we discuss this before we, or should I read the resolution and then?
I think you should read the resolution and then you can decide about tabling it or not.
So the amount presented.
How about now?
We still left that blank, correct?
Yes. So it was presented as the
4.98%, yes. Mhm.
Okay. Does everybody understand that? So the resolution will read as presented. So that was the 4.98%. So the recommended action is be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the Lake Placid Central Schools Administration Program and Capital Budgets for the 2020-2021 school year as presented earlier. May I have a motion to accept this, please?
Is this when we'd say table it or no?
Or do you need the motion first before you can table it?
Right, we need the motion and then the discussion phase.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I think we should table it.
Second, please.
Second. I'll second.
Thank you, Martha. Okay, discussion.
Table it.
You,
I think it needs to be tabled.
Liam, you sounded like Joan. I don't.
Yeah, it was.
It looked like Liam, but sounded like Joan.
It did. So tabling it, is there discussion as to why we would like to table this?
I think
it's
there's
off.
such a while now that
We need to wait and see
there's
what
just too
Congress
much
is
information missing. And until and I think, waiting another 2 weeks is not a problem because look what's changed in 2 weeks. And I think there's probably a lot that's going to happen between now and then. And it may be better, it may be worse, but at least we'll know more. That's my opinion anyway.
Any other comments?
No, that's exactly how I feel. I think that so much has happened that, we have the 2 weeks kind of given to us, so I think we need to wait.
Agreed.
Anybody else? So we'll table this vote until the next meeting, which is May 19th, of where we'll discuss it again and then bring it up for a vote. Any opposition to that?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item up is the special education, which was consent. Any questions on the May 19th packet? From anybody? If not, the second good of the cause, any emails come
Yeah,
in?
I just checked.
Okay, thank you. So we'll enter the adjournment phase of the meeting. Next meeting date and location will be May 19th, 2020. And that will be the budget vote approval. Old agenda items, you can see them out there. They're the sports merger, the dashboard, and active consent. I might add at this point that please get on super eval and at least initiate that so that we can get that moving forward, the superintendent's evaluation. If you're having difficulties with that, let Karen know and she can work with you on that. Next item is the anticipation of an executive session, subject to discuss negotiations. The recommended action is motion to go into executive session in anticipation to discuss negotiations. May I have a motion, please?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you, Dan. Second, please.
I'll second.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Is that Jeff?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition to going into executive session? If not, the motion passes. Please make sure you're alone. Remember, this is executive session, so. Martha, cover those ears of the dog ears, okay?
I still see us live on YouTube.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't shut it off yet.
She's gonna shut it off.
Okay.
Shut it off. And we practiced turning it on.
Do I need to, is this something I need to do now that you've made me a co-host?
No, I just need to. Does that work?
No.
Liam, how is that?
It's still up.
Still up?
But I don't think you can, I think it's on pause. Roger, do you know how this works?
I don't.
I think it's off. I don't actually think it's on. I think they're stuck in time. Oh, it says it's live. I was afraid this was gonna happen.
It's not just one plug either.
Yeah, I mean, we could always start it over again.
What's that?
Go out and come back.
Yeah.
We could do that,
Do you have to create a new meeting now?
probably.
Well, I wonder if I do that.
Um,
I think you can click on the exact same one again.
yeah.
Why don't one of us try it and see if we can come back in and then we'll know.
And last time that's what I did.
Hey,
All right, so should we quit out of this meeting and then I'll log back on?
yes.
Well, you know what? Well, maybe you just quit out and log back on and see what happens. Because you're the one bringing it up, right?
Is it me or Karen? Karen, do you have control or do I? Do you know?
I do.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and do that then? So Karen will leave the meeting and then log back on. And if you're not